The ancient message. The crystalline structures of the ancient draconian temple gleamed under the harsh light of three suns, casting rainbow patterns across the archaeological site. Commander Thane Corvus of the Veltarian Empire stepped through the massive doorway, his silver armor reflecting the prismatic light. His elongated skull, typical of his species, tilted upward as he examined the towering walls covered in symbols that had remained untranslated for over 1,000 years. "Commander, we found something extraordinary," called Lieutenant Vex from deeper within the temple. The young officer's voice echoed through the vast chamber, mixing with the hum of scanning equipment and the distant sound of excavation machinery. Corvus strode forward, his boots clicking against the polished stone floor. The Veltarian Empire had discovered this dead world 6 months ago, drawn by energy readings that suggested advanced technology. What they found was the ruins of the Draconian civilization, a species that had mysteriously vanished from the galaxy over 3,000 years ago. The Draconians had been legendary for their wisdom and military prowess, controlling a vast empire that spanned hundreds of star systems before their sudden disappearance. "What have you discovered, Lieutenant?" Corvus asked, approaching a raised platform where several officers were gathered around a large holographic projector. The device was clearly draconian in origin, its organic curves and crystal components, unlike anything in Veltarian technology. "We managed to activate this recording system. Sir, the message appears to be some kind of warning or historical record. The translation matrix is still working on the full text, but we've managed to decode the beginning." Lieutenant Vex manipulated the controls, and the air above the projector shimmered. A three-dimensional image materialized, showing a draconian elder in elaborate robes. The being's reptilian features were noble and wise, with large golden eyes that seemed to look directly at the Veltarian officers. When it spoke, the translation appeared as glowing text below the figure. "To those who come after us, know this truth above all others." The recorded draconian began, its voice carrying the weight of ages. "In our final years, we discovered a species unlike any other. They call themselves humans, and they inhabit a small blue world in the outer rim of what they call the Milky Way galaxy. We issue this warning not out of fear, but out of respect for what we witnessed." Corvus leaned forward, intrigued. The Veltarian Empire had been expanding rapidly, conquering primitive worlds and absorbing their resources. If this recording contained information about a previously unknown species, it could be valuable intelligence. The hologram continued. "The humans appear primitive by galactic standards. Their technology is basic, their weapons crude, and their society fragmented. They fight among themselves constantly and seem incapable of true unity. We initially dismissed them as insignificant. This was our greatest mistake." "What kind of mistake?" Corvus muttered to himself, though he already suspected the answer would be significant. When threatened, humans transform. They possess an adaptability that defies understanding. They learn faster than any species we have encountered, turning weaknesses into strengths with remarkable speed. Their capacity for innovation during conflict is unmatched. They do not simply fight. They evolve." The recording paused, and Lieutenant Vex looked up at his commander. "Sir, there's more. Much more. The system indicates this is only the first of 17 recorded messages about these humans." Meanwhile, 3 star systems away, Dr. Elena Vasquez brushed dust from her hands as she emerged from another section of draconian ruins. The human archaeological team had been working on this site for 2 years, carefully cataloging artifacts and trying to understand what had happened to the Draconians. Elena was a xenorchaeologist specializing in ancient civilizations, and the Draconian mystery had consumed her professional life. "Dr. Vasquez, you need to see this immediately," called her assistant, Dr. James Chen, from inside a newly discovered chamber. His voice carried an urgency that made Elena drop her equipment and rush toward him. The chamber was smaller than the others they had explored, but it contained something extraordinary. a perfect preservation pod made of the same crystalline material as the temple walls. Inside the pod, visible through the transparent surface, lay a draconian in what appeared to be suspended animation. "The pod's systems are still active," Chen reported, checking his instruments. "Life signs are stable. Whoever this is, they've been asleep for thousands of years." Elena studied the sleeping figure. Unlike the other draconian remains they had found, this one wore robes that suggested high rank or special status. Symbols on the pod indicated some kind of voluntary stasis, rather than death or accident. "James, start the awakening sequence. We need to follow the diplomatic protocols and contact Earth Command. But this could be the breakthrough we've been waiting for." As Elena worked to revive the ancient draconian, her communication device activated. The face of General Marcus Stone appeared on the small screen, his expression grave. "Dr. Vasquez, we've detected Veltarian ships entering the system. Long-range scans suggest they're investigating the same ruins you're studying. We're dispatching the fleet, but you need to prepare for possible first contact situations." Elena felt her heart race. The Veltarian Empire had a reputation for aggressive expansion. If they were interested in draconian technology, it could mean trouble for the human archaeological mission. "General, we've made a significant discovery. We have a living draconian in stasis. If we can revive them, they might have information about their civilization's fall and potentially about other species in the galaxy." Stone's expression grew more serious. "Proceed with caution, Doctor. If the Veltarians are as interested in draconian technology as our intelligence suggests, a living draconian could be extremely valuable to them. Don't let them know what you found until we understand the situation better." Back at the Veltarian site, Commander Corvus was viewing the 5th recorded message. Each recording had been more unsettling than the last, describing human tactics and capabilities that seemed impossible for such a primitive species. "They do not fight as we fight," the latest message explained. "When we deployed standard battle formations, they scattered and attacked from unexpected angles. When we adapted our tactics to counter their guerrilla warfare, they suddenly fought like a coordinated military force. Every time we believed we understood their methods, they changed them entirely." "This is propaganda," declared Captain Nex, Corvus's second-in-command. "No species can be this adaptable. The Draconians must have exaggerated human capabilities to justify their own military failures." Corvus was not so certain. The Draconians had been known throughout the galaxy for their honesty and analytical precision. These recordings felt like genuine military intelligence, not propaganda or myths. The next message was different. Instead of a single Draconian elder, it showed what appeared to be a war council, with multiple Draconian military leaders discussing strategy. "The humans have done something unprecedented," one of the council members reported. "They have taken our plasma weapon technology and improved it. Their modifications are crude but effective, increasing the weapon's power output by 30% while reducing energy consumption." Another counselor added, "Our intelligence networks report that human engineers are working with captured examples of our shielding technology. They appear to be developing hybrid systems that combine our energy shields with their own kinetic barriers." Corvus felt a chill run down his spine. The idea that a primitive species could improve advanced draconian technology was disturbing enough, but the implications were even worse. If humans could enhance weapons and defenses developed by one of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations, they might indeed be as dangerous as these recordings suggested. "Sir," Lieutenant Vex interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission from the human archaeological team. They're requesting a diplomatic meeting." Corvus considered his options. The Veltarian Empire had not yet made formal contact with humanity, but the discovery of these recordings changed everything. If the humans were indeed as adaptable and dangerous as the Draconians claimed, it might be better to establish dominance immediately rather than allow them time to prepare. "Tell them we accept their request for a meeting," Corvus decided, "but make it clear that they are in Veltarian space now, and they will follow our protocols." Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in the center of the neutral meeting zone, a cleared area between the human and Veltarian archaeological sites. The revived Draconian, who had identified himself as Ambassador Zeth, stood beside her. The ancient being's revival had been successful, though he was still weak from his millennia-long sleep. "Remember," Zeth whispered to Elena, "the Veltarians are proud and militaristic. They respect strength but despise weakness. However, they have never encountered humans before. They do not understand what you are capable of." Commander Corvus approached with a full honor guard, his silver armor gleaming in the alien sunlight. He was impressed despite himself by the human's composure. Dr. Vasquez showed no signs of fear or intimidation, even though she was clearly outgunned and outnumbered. "I am Commander Thane Corvus of the Veltarian Empire," he announced, his voice amplified by his suit's speakers. "You are trespassing in territory claimed by our empire. You will surrender your findings and submit to Veltarian authority." Elena stepped forward calmly. "I am Dr. Elena Vasquez, representing the Human Colonial Authority. We have been conducting archaeological research at this site for 2 years under interstellar salvage law. Our claim predates yours by a significant margin." "Your laws mean nothing to the Veltarian Empire," Corvus replied coldly. "We have the power to enforce our will. You have 2 choices: surrender voluntarily, or be taken by force." Ambassador Zeth stepped forward, his ancient voice carrying surprising strength. "Commander Corvus, I am Zeth of the Draconian Council. I have been in stasis for 3,000 years, but I remember your species. The Veltarians were always quick to violence, always certain of their superiority. I warn you now, do not make the same mistake with humans that we did." Corvus stared at the living Draconian, surprised by his sudden appearance. "You speak of mistakes, but the Draconian Empire fell while the Veltarian Empire thrives. Your warnings carry little weight. Our empire fell because we underestimated the humans and then overcompensated," Zeth replied gravely. "We fought them when we should have allied with them. Learn from our error, Commander. The humans you see before you may appear weak, but they are the most dangerous species in the galaxy when threatened." "Impossible," Captain Nex scoffed. "Look at them. They have no advanced weapons, no energy shields, no fleet support. They are clearly primitive." Elena smiled slightly, an expression that made Corvus suddenly uncomfortable. "Commander, I hope we can resolve this peacefully. However, I should inform you that Earth Command has been monitoring this situation. If diplomatic contact fails, they have authorized appropriate responses. Threats from primitives do not concern the Veltarian Empire," Corvus declared, though something in the human's confident tone disturbed him. As if summoned by his words, space above the planet suddenly filled with ships. The human fleet that materialized was not large by galactic standards, but the vessels themselves were unlike anything Corvus had seen. They appeared to be built from a combination of technologies, some clearly human in origin, others that looked suspiciously similar to systems he had seen in Draconian ruins. General Marcus Stone's voice came through Elena's communicator, audible to everyone in the meeting area. "Dr. Vasquez, this is Stone. We've been monitoring the situation. The Veltarian fleet has taken aggressive positions. We're prepared to respond if negotiations fail." Corvus looked up at the human ships, then back at Ambassador Zeth. The ancient Draconian's expression was sad but knowing. "Commander," Zeth said quietly, "you have a choice to make. The same choice my people faced long ago. You can choose to see humans as they appear to be, or you can choose to see them as they truly are. Choose wisely. The fate of your empire may depend on it." The tension in the air was palpable as Commander Corvus weighed his options, unaware that his next decision would determine whether the Veltarian Empire would learn from the Draconian's ancient mistake or repeat it with catastrophic consequences. When humans fight back, Commander Thane Corvus stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Veltarian Dominance, watching the tactical display show the positions of both fleets. Despite Ambassador Zeth's warnings and the strange confidence of the human negotiator, Corvus had decided that the Veltarian Empire's technological superiority was too great to be challenged by any primitive species. The diplomatic meeting had ended with a Veltarian ultimatum: surrender or face the consequences. Captain Nex, begin the attack, Corvus ordered. Target their lead vessels. Show them the power of Veltarian plasma cannons. The first volley of plasma fire lit up the space between the two fleets like artificial stars. The Veltarian weapons were devastatingly powerful, capable of melting through most known materials. But as the energy beams struck the human ships, something unexpected happened. Instead of exploding or vaporizing, the human vessels absorbed much of the impact with shields that seemed to ripple and adapt to the incoming energy. "Sir," reported the tactical officer, his voice confused, "their shields are deflecting 70% of our plasma fire. These readings don't match any known defensive technology." General Marcus Stone stood in the command center of the human flagship, the Earth's Resolve, watching the Veltarian attack with grim satisfaction. "They're using pure plasma weapons, just like the Draconian records indicated. Our adaptive shield matrix is handling it perfectly." Dr. Elena Vasquez, now serving as a civilian advisor to the fleet, monitored the battle from her position near the communication station. Ambassador Zeth stood beside her, his ancient eyes watching the tactical display with a mixture of sadness and recognition. "It begins as it began with us," Zeth said quietly. "The Veltarians attack with overwhelming force, expecting quick victory. They do not yet understand that humans turn every attack into a learning experience." On the screen, the human ships began to move in patterns that defied conventional space combat doctrine. Instead of maintaining formation and trading long-range fire, they scattered and began using hit-and-run tactics that confused the Veltarian targeting systems. "What are they doing?" Captain Nex demanded, staring at his tactical display. "No fleet fights like this. They're breaking every rule of space combat." Commander Corvus watched as human ships appeared to retreat, only to suddenly reverse course and attack from unexpected angles. When his forces adapted to counter these tactics, the humans immediately switched to a completely different approach. "Sir, 3 of our destroyers have been severely damaged," reported the tactical officer. "The humans are using some kind of kinetic weapons that punch through our shields more effectively than they should." What the Veltarians didn't realize was that the human weapons were not simply kinetic. During their 2 years of archaeological work, human engineers had studied Draconian weapon technology and developed hybrid systems that combined human railgun technology with Draconian energy amplification. The result was weapons that hit with the force of kinetic projectiles, but carried energy payloads that could disrupt shield harmonics. Dr. Elena Vasquez was coordinating with the engineering teams via her communication link. The Veltarian shields use a rotating frequency pattern, just like Ambassador Zeth described. Our adaptive targeting systems are learning to predict their frequency changes. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen, Elena's former assistant who had joined the military when the Veltarian threat became apparent, was now serving as the fleet's tactical coordinator. "Dr. Vasquez, we're ready to implement Phase 2 of the engagement plan." General Stone nodded. "Execute Phase 2. Show them what human innovation looks like." Suddenly, the human ships began launching what appeared to be small fighters, but these vessels moved with impossible speed and agility. The Veltarian point defense systems, designed to stop conventional missiles and torpedoes, were completely overwhelmed by the swarm of tiny, rapidly moving targets. "What are those?" Captain Nex asked, watching his sensors struggle to track the fast-moving objects. "They're not fighters," the tactical officer reported, his voice increasingly nervous. "They appear to be some kind of autonomous weapon system. They're too small and too fast for our targeting systems to lock onto effectively." The small human drones swarmed around Veltarian ships like angry insects, each one carrying a payload specifically designed to exploit weaknesses in Veltarian technology that the humans had identified during their archaeological research. Some carried electromagnetic pulse weapons that disrupted Veltarian computer systems. Others carried small but powerful shaped charges that could penetrate specific weak points in Veltarian armor. Commander Corvus watched in growing alarm as his superior fleet began to suffer significant damage from an enemy that should have been easily defeated. This is impossible. Their technology is primitive. How are they doing this? Ambassador Zeth's voice came through the communication channel, broadcasting to both fleets. Commander Corvus, you are seeing what my people saw 3,000 years ago. Humans do not simply use technology, they transform it. They take what exists and make it better, faster, more effective. This is their greatest strength and their most dangerous capability. The battle continued for several hours, but the outcome was becoming increasingly clear. The Veltarian fleet, despite its technological advantages, was being systematically outmaneuvered and outfought by human forces that seemed to adapt to every new challenge with impossible speed. Dr. Elena Vasquez was monitoring multiple data streams from the battlefield, watching as human engineers continued to modify their weapons and tactics in real time based on battlefield performance. General Stone, our analysis teams have identified 3 more vulnerabilities in Veltarian ship design. We can exploit them with modified versions of our kinetic penetrators. Approved, Stone replied. Deploy the modifications to all ships immediately. Within minutes, human weapons began targeting specific structural points on Veltarian vessels, causing catastrophic failures that should have been impossible given the technological gap between the two species. Captain Nex stared at his damage reports in disbelief. Sir, we've lost 12 ships and 23 more are severely damaged. The humans have lost only 4 vessels, and they're continuing to increase the effectiveness of their attacks. Commander Corvus felt something he had never experienced in his military career: doubt. The Veltarian Empire had built its reputation on quick, decisive victories against technologically inferior opponents. But the humans were not behaving like an inferior opponent. They were fighting like a species that had been preparing for this exact type of conflict for generations. Sir, the communications officer reported, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet. They're offering terms for our surrender. Surrender. Corvus was shocked. They want us to surrender. General Stone's image appeared on the main screen of the Veltarian flagship. The human commander looked tired but determined. Commander Corvus, your fleet has fought bravely, but the outcome of this battle is inevitable. We're offering you the chance to withdraw with honor rather than suffer unnecessary losses. You dare offer terms to the Veltarian Empire? Corvus replied, though his voice lacked its earlier confidence. Commander, Ambassador Zeth interrupted, his ancient voice carrying across the communication channel. Accept their offer. I have seen what happens when humans are pushed too far. They have shown restraint so far, but if you continue this battle, they will demonstrate capabilities that will haunt your dreams. As if to emphasize the point, the human fleet suddenly executed a maneuver that defied everything Corvus knew about space combat. The ships moved in perfect coordination, creating a 3-dimensional formation that surrounded the Veltarian fleet completely. Every human weapon was now aimed at vital points on Veltarian vessels, and the targeting locks were so precise that they could disable specific systems without destroying entire ships. How is this possible? Captain Nex whispered, no fleet can coordinate like this. The computational requirements alone should be impossible. Dr. Elena Vasquez smiled from her position on the human flagship. The secret was not just human technology, but human cooperation. Unlike most species, humans had learned to function as a collective intelligence during combat situations. Each ship's crew was connected through advanced communication networks that allowed them to share information and coordinate actions with a speed and precision that no individual commander could match. Commander Corvus, General Stone said calmly, you have 10 minutes to decide. Withdraw your fleet, and we can discuss terms for peaceful coexistence. Continue fighting, and we will be forced to demonstrate why the Draconians warned against attacking humans. Corvus looked around his bridge at the faces of his officers. These were veteran warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds, but now they looked uncertain and afraid. The tactical displays showed the impossible, the technologically superior fleet being defeated by an enemy that should have been helpless. "Sir," the tactical officer reported quietly, "long-range sensors are detecting additional human ships jumping into the system. It appears to be a much larger fleet, and the ships are different, larger, more heavily armed." Ambassador Zeth's voice came through the communication system one final time. "Commander, those are not the ships of human explorers or colonists. Those are human warships built specifically for combat. If they enter this battle, your fleet will not survive. The humans have shown mercy so far. Do not test the limits of their patience." Commander Corvus stared at the tactical display, watching the new human fleet approach. He thought about the draconian warnings, about the impossible adaptability he had witnessed during the battle, and about the confident way the humans had offered him terms for surrender. He realized that everything he thought he knew about warfare, about technology, and about the nature of strength had been wrong. "All ships," he announced over the fleet communication system, "stand down weapons and prepare to withdraw. Signal the human fleet that we accept their terms for negotiation." As the Veltarian fleet powered down its weapons and began to withdraw to a safe distance, Ambassador Zeth turned to Dr. Elena Vasquez and General Stone. "You have done what my people could not do. You have shown strength without cruelty, victory without vengeance. Perhaps this time, the outcome will be different." General Stone nodded grimly. "Ambassador, we learned from your people's records. We know what happens when fear and misunderstanding drive interstellar relations. We hope to build something better." The space between the two fleets, which had been filled with the fire of combat just minutes before, now hummed with the quiet efficiency of diplomatic communication channels being established. The Veltarian Empire would learn to coexist with humanity, or they would learn why the Draconians had issued their ancient warning about the species that appeared weak but possessed the power to turn empires to ashes. The battle was over, but the real test of human diplomacy and Veltarian wisdom was just beginning. In the end, the greatest victory was not the defeat of the Veltarian fleet, but the opportunity to prove that even the most dangerous species in the galaxy could choose peace over destruction when given the chance.